Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast episode from Reimaru Files. It's called RF Talk, and today it's the day right after the biggest Dota event of the year, the International, and I have Franz here with me to talk all about it and maybe more about esports down the road. Hello, Franz, how you doing?
Hello, yes. Good evening, morning, or whatever time it is to our listeners. Actually, you were saying that's the biggest event of the year. Well, not only of the year, probably the biggest Dota event of all time. So, considering the prize pool and the stakes for this
Actually,
tournament.
there's a lot of firsts in this particular Dota, right? It's the first time it's in China.
Right.
It's the first time it's reached a prize pool of this magnitude. It's the first time we have a two-time TI winner. My goodness. And not
All
only that,
right.
back to back. I can't believe
Yes,
it. I can't believe it.
yes. It was really quite something. The international has always broken new ground, and people were memeing that Dota was a dead game, but this event just proved that nope, not quite dead.
Actually, you know what?
In fact, bigger than ever.
There's a for the past several years actually it's visible to us that the user base of Dota 2 is actually dropping, but the prize pool is climbing, which I guess it tells
Yeah.
us that even though the players are getting fewer, they're spending more. They want to spend more. They like the game more. They like the event more. It's like Dota's this island of all the gamers, and they just keep getting richer, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm just pulling up the Steam charts for Dota 2. So it seems that there's the past year or so there's been a little bit of a drop, but then it's stabilized. So actually, if you look at the numbers from the past from around May to June, it's actually higher than the year before. So that's actually quite surprising.
Higher than. Actually, yeah, because the
Yeah.
game doesn't. It's not really radically changing. Maybe it's getting better. I think one May. No, actually, one of the bigger. There's two reasons why it would spike up, right? The international happened. Everybody gets hyped about the game, and then they also changed the how ranking works. The ranked mode works, and
All right, yeah. Actually, when you look at the charts from on Steam charts, the chart has been very, very consistent since the game first came out. So that's quite healthy for Valve and the undying game of the year every year for all of the loyal players.
like, what are the numbers in general? Can you tell us?
Well, from what I'm seeing, it's stabilized. The past 30 days, the amount of players is out around 825,000 or so, which is around the same as last year. But around May and April, it was close to a million peak players. So it's really good.
That does sound pretty stable. That there was a
Yeah.
time they would have like if you go on year, like I'm pretty sure the numbers went down, but if it's stabilizing at around that, then I guess it's still healthy and it's still generating its own revenue anyway. So really hard to complain.
Yeah,
But it did show
yeah. I
some.
guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now I'm guessing is that the Dota crowd is just really, really loyal. So there's always something new to come back to. So I don't blame Valve. So new cosmetics, new patches, new heroes, and we saw a lot of that during the international as well. So
Yeah,
looks
it
like the
does.
game's gonna, yeah,
It does
gonna
keep
keep
coming
on
up
this pace.
with new content, right? It keeps renewing itself a bit, but everybody that doesn't know how to play Dota yet is so scared of trying Dota for the first time because it's
That's
just
true.
it's insanely complex. It's in the words of Slacks, it's miserable to play, but it's fun to watch. It's miserable to play, fun to watch,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's one of those games that punishes you if you don't and you don't know anything. But then when you reach that certain point, that epiphany, there's just nothing like it. Nothing quite like it. There's
Yeah.
a reason it spawned a whole genre on itself.
That is true, and well, there's others that might be more successful, but nothing has quite replicated what Dota has been capable of doing. That is true. So,
Yeah.
Dota TI. Can you break down what TI means for us?
Well, to me, international means everything. Basically, I wasn't much of an esports follower I just played Dota, CS on the side, and other games on the side casually. But then when the first international came, I remember I was just like, "Oh my God, I'm playing Han," and then I just quit the game. And
Mm-hmm.
then Dota 2 is coming out soon. And then the first look was that the first international, and they were promising a prize pool of $1 million. It was absolutely unheard of during back in the day. So like, is this actually happening? So
Yeah.
I was staring at the freaking Dota 2 logo screen on the stream. I wasn't even Twitch by at then. I think it was in the official Dota 2 website. So I was staring at that for hours, just waiting for the first glimpse of the game. So that and then I think they had some technical issues. But then when I first saw the game, I was like, my jaw dropped. Like, oh my God, this is actually happening. They're actually playing for a freaking $1 million, and we're seeing our first glimpse of Dota 2.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely groundbreaking. It was crazy.
Right. Like, okay, let's just give a bit of a context. This was 2011. Competitive games were
Right.
just basically meetups with friends on and local fighting game communities. That's what I would know about. And Dota was more of just a bet for beer, something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or just the or what you pay the place you played in. You pay for the other team. That's it. And maybe you exchange a few thousands if you guys are high rollers, right? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. But then Dota, Valve announced that they will do a $1 million tournament, and nobody could believe it. Nobody could, but it was true. It was everybody thought it was a lie. I mean, if you could watch it all happen on free to play, that documentary with the first
Yeah.
international.
Yeah, what's interesting is that according to many of the Chinese teams, so they were some of the best teams in Dota back then, they did not participate or fly to Germany because some of them thought it was a scam. Because it was just absolutely unheard of. So the first international was just some grassroots organizations and a few bigger ones who were able to participate because no one knew what the hell that was. So it was something like kind of like what I would equate to WrestleMania, or
Okay.
back what it did for wrestling. So it was something that's really spurred forward what esports could be. And then the next TIs, they absolutely built on the idea. The hype built up. The competition got better. Then we actually got to see some things that Valve innovated, such as the battle pass in order to add to the prize pool. So it's really it's a really lot of firsts for not only for Dota 2 but for esports in general.
All right, esports. Esports was a term that became pretty popular because of the international. I'd have to attest to that because esport was not a thing before TI1, TI2. Nobody really
Well,
thought of it that way.
Well, it was a thing, I guess, in Korea. You could say they started the whole movement, but then esports was inevitably gonna grow into what it is today. But though the international was a very important part of it, a very important part of legitimizing what esports could be.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
the prestige of esports is now at an all-time high. It's just growing and growing because of events like the international.
Yeah, because esports back then, before the international, was basically Counter Strike. I'm pretty sure it was mostly Counter Strike, maybe Quake. It would be televised maybe in European TV, maybe Korean TV with StarCraft, but they were pretty contained. You wouldn't really hear
Yeah.
about them in. Maybe you'll hear about it a little in America, but not so much outside of Korea, not so much outside of some parts of Europe.
Yeah, so yeah, I think because most games had the grassroots foundation, so much of the Dota scene back then was just contained in their own region. So there's a region for China had their own tournaments, Southeast Asia had their own tournaments, North America had their own tournaments, and it was all ran by grassroots organizations. So this was absolutely unheard of to have something like of this magnitude, like with it's sort of like a world championship before world championship for a thing. So yeah, so it was really something that brought the whole community together, and actually was, of course, it was the grand launch of Dota 2 as a game itself. So it was something really on a different level that was absolutely unheard of.
Yeah, so we started with TI. It just brought the prestige to the idea of esports, and suddenly everybody was interested in it. Everybody was suddenly had some respect for the idea, for the term, because people were just laughing at the idea at first, right? They thought,
Right.
because people were thinking, "What are you, like athletes?" Because and I had to explain it to some
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, like what was esports? So why are you spending so much time learning a game?
Yeah,
And now there's actually like courses for esports, like esports management, like how to manage your career, like how to become a better player, mentality, things like that. So it's just absolutely like breathtaking to watch it unfold right before your eyes.
yeah. What
9 years after that.
what TI proved was there's an audience for these things. Because when they found out that this something this big was happening, everybody watched it. And now
Yeah,
9 years
yeah,
down the road, we had a $1 million tournament. Now we have what 34, 35 million for this
yeah.
latest TI.
It's crazy. So it's crazy that like how people are willing to spend on battle passes, on levels, just to help the prize pool grow. So it just proves how much of a loyal hardcore following the game has, because from what I understand, like at least 20 to 30% of the audience don't even play the game. They just watch TI and they're contributing to the prize pool. They,
Whoa,
they just go, yeah. They just download the game, they buy the battle pass just to support the tournament and just watch the game. They don't even play it at all.
yeah, because you watch it for free. Nobody has to pay anything for you to watch it. It's on Twitch.
Yeah,
It's on the Dota client. There used to be a premiere for it, but not anymore. It's 100% free. So I guess people just really appreciate the teams, the players, the game. I mean, it's just genius marketing from where I'm standing. It's just all genius marketing.
yeah. It was like, and I was mentioning earlier, it was the innovation of battle pass that got the prize pool to what this is right now. Now every online game or any esports focused game has their own version of the battle pass. So you earn skins, like you find it in Fortnite. There's something like that as well for other competitive games. Even sometimes even those mobile games, they have their own version of the battle pass, and you can thank the international for that.
Yeah. So the concept of this battle pass that we're talking about is basically you buy something that gives you a more premier skin or something. Is that it? No, I don't think that's all. I think it's more than that.
Yeah, it's basically something that gives you additional quests and what, just to unlock more stuff for a low price. So for $10, you can get a lot of skins, a lot of chests, a lot of unlocks, and you help contribute to the prize pool. So it's a very compelling bundle
All right.
that other companies have also adopted to their games, because it's just very effective.
All right. I think this was originally called the TI Compendium, where you unlock a collectible game or something, where you collect the players, you collect the skins, you you get to record stats with your players. It's like a deck of baseball cards. That's how it started, right? But then they kept building on it.
Yeah.
They kept building on more engagement, more prizes, but they all circle within the game. So you get skins, you get extra effects, voiceovers, a lot of cosmetic items that you don't necessarily have to pay for. Of course, paying for it is more convenient, but you can also just get them just by playing and engaging with the game more. It's just genius marketing. That's what I mean about it.
Yeah, it is. It's also making Valve a lot of money. So it's possible to bring something of this, a tournament of this magnitude, all 18 teams to China, all employ all of them and living in 5-star hotels with 5-star accommodations because of the battle pass. So it's
Yeah.
it's also helping the players. It's also helping Valve. It's making Dota a better ecosystem because of this.
All right. So TI9, we said a while ago, broke a lot of things. They changed a lot of things. First of all, everybody was very skeptical about the China part being the venue. Though I think production wise, it's hard to complain. What do you think?
Yeah, I remember that the first ever Shanghai major was a huge disaster. So people were still very wary of having a tournament of this magnitude in Shanghai and or just China in general. So, but yeah, it mostly went without a hitch, despite their having to have multiple analyst tables for different languages. 19 teams had to be brought to China. The whole controversy with the crowd and some of the
Oh,
players,
well, we'll get to
especially the
that.
ones from TNC.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah,
to
we'll get
that.
to that later.
All right.
But yeah, just production wise, it went really well. So surprising or not surprisingly, but thankfully it went really well.
Yeah, thankfully it went well. I mean, I would say that this is the best TI apart from the grand finals. I mean, the grand finals could have been better, but everything else, when I think about it, yeah, everything else was just so great. Everything was just so great. Uh, wait, why do you think they decided to put it in China this time?
Well, the first reason I would think of is the visa issue. So it's no surprise that in the past 4 or 5 years, the international has been held in Seattle, right? Well,
Yes,
actually, every year other than
it's
other
been
than the first
Seattle.
one, and then last year, yeah, last year was in Vancouver. So the main reason for that is probably the visa issue. So we've seen issues from Chinese players, some European players, even the Philippines players. So they've always run into these problems. So it was preventing us from seeing some teams at their full force. So it was really quite disappointing if a team was to compete in a big event such as international without their full force of roster. So I guess that's the main reason. Second reason, of course, Dota is absolutely huge in China. So it's no surprise that esports has been a main focus in China. And like what the hype video said, Dota is probably having the second home of Dota is probably in China because they have such a huge community there. Many of the best teams come from China. Many legends come from China. So there's really a huge following of people who want to see a big event. So I would say it's financial and both visa what you call this visa motivated issues.
All right. Well, I'd like to add one more thing. Right. This is just Reddit research, so take it with a grain of salt.
Mhm.
Right. So, right after TI 8, when Shanghai was announced, somebody posted the top 100 level holders for the latest battle pass during that time. Most of it was Chinese.
Oh,
So like,
right, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
like they're probably expecting a better return in China.
Yeah, I think some of those might be account sellers, so that's also a possibility.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. Is like Chinese Dota fans are just willing to spend so much on watching the game, right, on the
Mhm.
battle pass, and to support their home teams as we've seen in the tournament. So they're very vocal and they're very financially willing to spend in the game.
Man, it must have really hurt when the last team got eliminated. Anyway,
Oh yeah, I'm sure you saw the crowd before and after the LGD game.
yeah, actually, the crowd, yeah. I mean, I'd understand. It's just that they're more blatant about it, right? Uh,
Yeah,
but
it
it's. I think this
that's
is the third TI. Yeah, I believe this is the third TI that China hasn't won.
yeah, that's because OG broke the curse. It used to be we had a pattern in TI. So since TI one was West China, West China, West China, and
Yeah,
now OG since last year they broke the curse. So it's now 3 years in a row that the Western team has won, and 2 years of that has been OG. So
yeah,
they just defy all logic. Just defy all logic.
and
It's just crazy.
but the crowd was, it wasn't very nice, but that the bias was just so obvious. I mean, everybody was addressing it. The casters were addressing it. The panel was addressing it. But I guess they're within their rights. However, I don't know if it. There's kind of an edge case for me, but how they booed TNC on the stage didn't really vibe with me very well. Sure, I could say that that's my own bias, and we could just say that, you know what, TNC's management dug their own grave during the last other major, so they're reaping what they sow, and it'll take forever for a crowd to forget, right?
Yeah, well, at least we got to see TNC at their full force in the tournament, but I don't think it was very nice for them to get booed that way. I mean, that thing happened like months ago, and I think everyone should be able to move on and just enjoy good Dota. This is supposed to be a celebration of Dota, celebration of esports. So to see something like that happen is just not very. It's
a little disheartening.
It's very pleasing.
Yeah, it's a little disheartening, but I forgot to mute my phone. Anyway, the fact that we have a good amount of representation in the event anyway, I think that's a good thing, and because they could have just done something even more underhanded, like deny visas if they wanted to, but that didn't happen. So, you take what you can get,
Yeah, but there was. I have to just bring this up. There was also the controversy of the ticket selling. So apparently the Chinese company that was supposed to be in charge of ticket selling just sold them in bulk to scalpers. So this caused a huge controversy. Apparently, the tickets for the final day, which was yesterday, they went up to more than $1,000 worth because of the scalpers. And this is the ticket company's fault.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I guess nothing comes off without a hitch. So,
right.
that actually explains why the venue seemed kind of spacious when I saw the crowds.
Yeah, so the scalpers didn't know what to do with the tickets anymore because they couldn't sell it.
Yeah, that would explain why there wasn't that many for attendance, But who knows? Like maybe TI11 is gonna be in Manila this time. Come on,
well, it's happening. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I definitely remember that Manila Major are definitely the best crowd of all time. There's no doubt in terms of the crowd reception, in terms of crowd loudness, appreciation of teams and cheers. Manila Major was the best of all time.
Yeah, but one thing I really do appreciate about this TI is almost every other esports event, including the TI, they were marketing themselves so hard that they're a bunch of super cool, storied, badass players, right? They're all serious. They're all serious. They're all super serious. But we know that's not what Dota is like. That's not what gaming is like.
Yeah.
Now, this latest.
I was just trying to say, just like what OG showed, Dota is all about fun.
Yeah. So and the personalities just came out very well in TI9. Each team, they weren't just there just to play Dota, or at least they were presented in such a way that they weren't just Dota players. You could see it in the profile pics of OG. You could see it and Liquid actually. And there was that they made a skit. They made a skit for VG. They made a skit with Evil Geniuses as well.
My god, that was so good.
I couldn't handle S4. I couldn't handle S4 with their revolvers and the cowboy hat. Did you see the outtakes?
He had S4 was firing more bullets than the chambers of the revolver that he was holding.
That's because he's all American. He's all American.
Real cowboy. And the part where Crit was just practicing his shoulder bash against Dota, that was so good. Oh my god. Whoever made
I'm
that...
so glad. No, it has Slacks. It has Slacks' name all over it. It can't be not Slacks.
God.
Green screen. Kind of. Because Slacks has a particular way of making things look amateurish. So and it adds to the joke. He knows it.
Yeah.
That's why he does it that way.
Plus the part where he and Casey were just going through the audience, trying to find people who could speak English. Oh my god. I couldn't stop cringing at the same time. It was so hilarious. It was just only Slacks can do that.
Yeah.
Only Slacks. What a
Slacks
guy.
works through the cringe. He works through the cringe. That's him.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's so. It is a very refreshing take on what esports should be like, because esports was trying so hard to be like traditional sports. Everybody is super cool, everyone is badass. But now they picked up from how the fans were reacting to TI8 with all these anime references about the story of No Tail and Fly and LGD, and they just picked it up
Yeah.
from there. It's insane. This is the best TI ever, in my opinion.
Well, TI3 still holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think this would come really close. I think this would be second best for me, second or third best, something like that.
All right.
Just because last year's finals was just the best. I think that was one of the best finals of all time. So it's quite competition for me within me whether TI8 or 9 was better.
Okay. Well, I agree. I agree that TI3 Grand Finals, that's just the best. That's just the best. And the only
Yeah.
time I would dare say it was surpassed was TI8 Grand Finals. That's the only
Oh
time,
yeah,
because
yeah, and
it's just
we
beautiful.
were yeah, that was just amazing. It was just amazing Dota, like from start to finish. That was like that was a very unholy time slot for us here in our
The
time zone, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was just absolutely worth the wait in the watch to sit through all 5 games last year. That was just so damn good. That's
Yeah.
just peak Dota.
Goes to game
And we were
5.
this
Yeah.
yeah, we were this close to seeing a rematch of the best of live 5 from last year.
Yeah, that is true. LGD was so close to revenge. Unfortunately, what sits on top of this TI is creative thinking and being able to produce your own meta, and that's definitely not a strength from LGD.
Yeah, so I remember that the only team probably who would do this outside of OG back then was Wings. So and Wings is considered one of the trendsetters, and we could still see the influence of that team to this year's TI, despite all of that happened to their team. So I think a lot of OG's playstyle, I could see a lot of Wings, another former TI winner, in their playstyle. So
Alright,
it
alright.
was just
Since we're already talking about the teams, like we talked a while ago, we both are favorite. We both have Team Secret as our favorite. Of course, starts from TI3, I guess. We just really like those guys. Like, what do you think about OG? What do you think about, or do you have after Secret? Like, what's your favorite team?
yeah, it was probably OG and Liquid. So those teams are just, well, I think they're just very fun to watch. So and they have very exciting personalities. So that's why I like these teams. I like they're both legendary. They have a mix of old blood and new blood. So it's really very interesting to watch their gameplay. So outside of Team Secret, so it still wasn't their year despite dominating the whole year. Unfortunately, at least they got a higher position than last year. So
A much higher
as for
position, yeah.
yeah, as for OG, we saw them struggling throughout the year. So it was really surprising when they were just dominating the group stage, and then come the main stage, they were just on a different level than everyone else.
Well, they came up with like a few strategies that nobody's ever seen before, nobody's ever heard of. Carry-io, what's the diffusal blade on gyro. What? And they
Yeah,
work. And
and
they're it's just the best. Like Because one of the things that makes the game stale, games like this stale, is it just becomes a matter of executing a strategy that everybody already knows.
Yeah, just like what we saw back in TI4, which is considered one of the most disappointing TIs. So you just saw base rush after base rush. So this TI OG completely changed the meta not only once, like more than 5 times throughout the whole tournament. So that it's just crazy. So they started picking carry IO undefeated. Then Team Secret starts to pick it, and then Team Liquid shuts it down. And
Yeah,
then come the grand finals, OG Team Liquid dared OG to pick carry IO, but and they just said why not, and they still made it work. So they completely changed the meta throughout the whole tournament, like multiple times. That's completely absurd. They were just on a different level.
yeah. They kept giving us something new. They kept giving us something new, and it was fun to watch. And these characters, the players, their characters with their own stories, and you just can't believe it. You can't believe that these guys that feel like normal people when they're not playing games are playing absolutely insane, right?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I saw the interview right after the tournament. Back on this Chinese, it's a Chinese version of the late game. So they
Mhm.
had the crowd. It's like a talk show format, and they were like asking like Anna, we now consider you a god. So what do you think of that? Anna was saying like, oh wow, really? Like I'm humbled, but I think all of us are. If I'm a god, all of the whole team is a god because they made this happen. We're all gods then. So he said something to that effect.
Yeah,
So
the
it's
humility
so
of the OG players is very charming. Really, it's very refreshing.
yeah. So and after the tournament, we now see all of these players. They're ascending to one of the greatest of all time. Despite the team only barely being formed before the TI8. Like, remember? Like last year, OG was barely a team right before the tournament. So they had to go through open qualifiers in TI8, and then they somehow won the whole thing. And now this year, it looked like they weren't going to be on the same level, but then come TI, they peak at the right time, and then they capture the championship again. It's just a
It's just
wonderful
magical.
story that,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
it's
just absolute magic.
it's the Cinderella story, and then there's a part two, so it's unbelievable. But you
Yeah.
know, you can't. It's hard to say. It's hard to say that you didn't want them to win it because they feel like suitable champions for the sport.
Yeah, they're all good guys. So they're all these players have all have storied careers, and they're all good, great poster boys for the game and esports itself. So now they're all the from what I'm seeing in the chart, they're now the top earning esports players of all time. The whole team,
Well, they won TI twice,
all of the whole team.
so
Yeah, they
so,
won TI twice,
that's
11 million
something.
and 15 million.
Yeah, that's something I wasn't expecting to say until like at least next year, because by next year there would be so many winners of TI. If there was no two-time winner at this year, there's just so many of them that it's almost impossible that it wouldn't be a two-time winner by next year.
Yeah, that's true because it's just absolutely crazy to think that in 9 years of TI there was no repeat winner at all. Not even one player had won it twice before this year. Not
Mm-hmm.
even a team who were there. You can see that almost all the top 5 teams have been the same names throughout the years. We have LGD, we have Liquid, we have EG, but none of them have won it twice. So that's just crazy to think of before this year.
All right, so TI, it's great. It's in the magical place right now. We have great people in top to look up to follow. This seems to be a great example as to how esports should forward itself as a thing in general, not just in Dota 2.
Yeah, I agree. So esports, of course, esports is going to be gradually growing. Not and it's going to be more gradually accepted. So now we see esports in the SEA Games, in the Asian Games, maybe soon in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So while there are still, of course, people who don't accept it as a real sport, quote unquote, These tournaments that have the big tournaments for each game has been slowly but surely legitimizing esports because of the viewer base and the fan base. So it's really healthy for esports as a genre of sporting event.
All right, let's pick it apart a bit here. TI is undoubtedly the most successful esports tournament of all time. How do you think this can be replicated in smaller scale with other games or other genres?
Well, in other genres, of course, it has to be. I think it has to start with the fans. So, you have to start treating you have the game has to treat their fans with respect. Like they accept what the crowd thinks and they accept feedback. And of course, the game has to be appealing to watch. That's the problem with many other games. So Dota is a very complicated game, but once you watch it happen, it's just magical. So it's very difficult to replicate this with other games. So uh, Counter Strike is easy to understand. So when you watch it, you know what's happening, and that helps the game.
But it's
But for
boring to
other
watch.
games, yeah, it's not really exciting to watch. So even in Dota, there's ups and downs throughout the game, right? There's the slow parts of the game, but then when everything combusts into those magical team fights, you're
Mhm.
just glued to your screen, your heart is pounding, and you just don't know what's gonna happen next, and then your mind is blown. So it's very hard to replicate this with other games. It's just something. It's just Valve magic and Ice Frog magic. I don't
Well,
know.
no,
I don't know what to do. But
let's put it this way. For Dota and other MOBA types, well, MOBA in general starts with 10 players on one map, and you can't possibly follow every single player accurately with what they're doing. Now, Dota is the most complex one of them all, meaning each movement, each decision is important. You can be wasting 5 seconds doing something that's not producing anything for your team, and that might be crucial. You know, you could forget that your one of your teammates has an extra life, and you leave him alone to get killed by the enemy team, and the game just turns around because you forgot. So
right.
so there's so many things. There's so much complexity and depth to the game that watching it happen is just a surprise every few seconds, right? Though
Yeah, so it also helps that no game of Dota is ever the same. So if they're all playing on the same map, they could pick the same heroes for the next game, but it might just go the other way, as we've seen in throughout the tournament. So carry IO might work this game, but it might be countered by the other team the next game. They might learn from their mistakes in the previous game, and they might change the timings for the whole game. A Roche fight might go wrong. Someone might just kill the courier. It would totally change the game. So it's a very dynamic game, and that helps for the viewership.
yeah, so it's because it's so unpredictable. The only other genre that I think can compete with viewership is fighting games, Evo, something like that. But
Yeah,
it's kind of the polar opposite. It's just one player versus another player, and everything is literally controlled pretty well most of the time, predictable, but it can get really explosive at the same time.
yeah. It's what I would call controlled chaos. I think it's a good term
For a
when
game.
you're watching the game.
Okay, so it has to be for you. In your opinion, it has to be grassroots. It has to be community centered because that's where it all starts. I guess the game has to be miserable to play. No, it just has to be complex enough. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Well, if we think about it, something like League of Legends is trying to, what League of Legends is trying to do is replicate their national with their own world championship,
Mm-hmm.
with their own $1 million tournament. But it's all manufactured. We don't really see the heart in it sometimes. So, but well, yeah, of course it's gonna get millions of viewers because it's one of the most popular games in the world. It doesn't have quite the heart of the TI for me. So there's something missing in those when they try to replicate the international.
Really, I didn't realize that the hype for was it Worlds? I think it's called Worlds.
Yeah,
Uh,
Worlds.
I didn't realize that it was kind of generated.
Well, yeah, because Riot basically they own all of the teams. So when you sign if you're not signed with Riot, you cannot compete in these big tournaments. So you have to be under contract with them before you're in the circuit, basically. Unlike Dota, where it's still a grassroots thing, where you have to form your own team. Like for example, OG. OG is not even a sponsored team; they're just an independent team, and they've won the international twice. So that's absolutely unheard of for a game like League of Legends.
And Red Bull came to them. All
Yeah,
right.
Red Bull, basically, yeah.
But so do you think there's a so you think the support of maybe a commissioning organization or something like that might not necessarily be needed, or a central body to manage everything is absolutely required, like for maybe legals, for maybe protecting certain individuals and agencies from possible problems, especially legally. What do you think?
Well, we've already seen that happen with Valve. So Valve has traditionally been a very passive company. They've never really been hands-on with these things.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of other than when they set up the major minor system. Before that, it was just like you go form your own team. We have this tournament. You try to qualify, and now they're kind of forced to do that because you have to be teetering the line between grassroots and organized. So far I think they've shown a good balance of that, other than a few controversial decisions. So they've only allowed one team per sponsor, unlike the previous years where you've seen a different two different teams with the same sponsor. So
Mm-hmm.
there was BG whoever and BG this and BG that, for example, and now you're only allowed one BG team. So they've been forced to make very hard decisions, and they've not always been popular, but it's still for the good of the game for the most part.
All right. So I guess it's more of having your ear to the ground kind of organization that holds it. Maybe it's important that it's just the developer that does it as much as possible, as little interference or as little enforcement of what you think the rules should be. Yeah, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, that's a there should be a good middle ground when it comes to this, but it's difficult when decisions concern the whole country's policy, just like what happened to PNC.
Oh, that's a very complex story out of a very yeah, it's a very complex story. It's like a how do you describe this? It's like a tempest in a teapot situation. When you think about it, when you really think about it, the issue was actually very small, and it just got
Yeah,
blown up because people kept making weird decisions about how to manage it.
yeah. It could have been kept to a minimum. Like the team could have just suspended him, but then and Valve probably shouldn't have blown it up this way as well. So I think it was one of the decisions that was very controversial because it was in their own it was also their own fault in a way.
No, they let it boil for a while. So yes, that's
Yeah.
all right. So
Thankfully, that's all over.
yeah, looks like Ti9 is enough to wash away the pain.
Yeah.
uh,
Hopefully.
Dota's great. In fact, I have friends right now waiting, like wanting me to go play, right, and that's why the Steam rang a little while ago.
Oh.
Anyway,
Okay. Looks like you're gonna be ranking up tonight.
maybe depends if people tilt. We'll see. We'll see. All right. I think we're pretty much at the end of this discussion so far. Like we've talked about Ti, the history. In fact, we fanboyed a bit about their teams. Are you waiting for the shuffle? Because I'm waiting for the shuffle. Because anybody
Oh, for
below
sure.
Anybody below the top four, I'm sure they're gonna do a shuffle because I
For sure.
and you know Arteezy, as much as I like the guy, I don't know where to put him right now. That was a really awful showing.
Yeah.
That was a really
Yeah,
awful
there was
showing.
like
Yeah.
this is like the fifth year in a row that an RTZ's EG team was disappointing. Well, third place was good, but they've only picked a third place. Now they've picked even lower. So I think honestly, I think there should be a change for their EG team. So we've already seen that some of the players from the team have hinted that they'll be going, especially Fly. He
Yeah.
tweeted recently that he's thanking all the players, so he might be gone. Shuffle. Hopefully, Secret will keep their team. So because I think despite the quote unquote disappointing TI showing, they've still dominated the whole year. So the team's still good. So hopefully they keep the whole thing.
That's quite a statement. Your fourth place in the international, and that's a disappointing showing. Then again, we're talking about Puppy here. No, because think
Yeah,
about it. Like out of all the teams, and like you're a dominating force during the DPC itself. Uh, Hard to say. I mean, in the end, I think the biggest reason. Okay, fine. Mid one was playing kind of weird, but he was able to correct himself at some point. But I
yeah.
really,
Mid one was he was very inconsistent. So
but
some games he would play so well,
mhm.
but in the end, I think it wasn't his peak form.
I have like theories on why he was doing that, but that's a discussion for another time. But you know, apart from that, like he was doing well, and I honestly believe the reason why they got knocked out at fourth was because Kuro had Puppy's number, like hands down. He knew exactly how to
Right.
handle Puppy's strategy.
Right, and now we see that No Tail has Kuro's number.
Yeah, actually, Kuro broke, man. Kuro broke in the grand finals. You could see it in the draft, and
Yeah,
it just goes to show that just because you got a great player doesn't mean it gets integrated well into your team. Weeha, a very excellent player, a great hero pool, but the Team Liquid didn't know how to make use of more than just two or three of his heroes.
yeah. Do you think they did better with the roster change with Weeha instead of
Uh,
Matumba?
well, you could see how much better they performed until now. And second place TI. Hard to
Yeah,
question.
I honestly think Weeha. It was one of Weeha was one of the reasons they got to the finals. But if you swap in Matumba Man during the finals for Weeha, it would have been a closer series.
But there's no way that we're gonna make like a six-player team
Yeah.
in Dota. That's not happening. I mean, I was toying
Yeah,
with the
it's not
idea at
happening,
first, but no.
yeah, because it was just such a dream matchup. But then OG just showed that they were just way better. They were just fountain diving at the final game. In the
Uh,
finals of TI, they were just fountain diving. That was
Yeah.
just crazy. Then they were spamming memes and spamming the chat deal, and just showing what at the end they were just having fun. They weren't even like being stressed about playing in the finals. So it was just
Right.
it was just beautiful to watch.
TI this year made it look like OG was the only tier one team around. Honestly,
Yeah,
that's what you'd
true.
think, or you could say that OG has a tier of its own at the moment, at least,
Yeah,
until people figure out how to deal with them. That's how it's gonna be. But the post TI patch is coming. Lots of changes. We're gonna see Alt, Shadow Demon,
Oh god.
EO. They're all gonna get nerfs. Like at least those
And you
three.
know who's
Elder
gonna
Titan. Sorry,
yeah, you know who's gonna deal with OG?
who?
Which
Ice
Ice
Frog.
Frog is gonna deal with OG. Yeah. Yes, he's gonna remove the chat field, the flags. Then OG won't be able to win any more games. That's the only way to deal with them.
All right. So let's see. Anything else? No, I think you got anything else to maybe add. We had a lot of fun talking
Well,
about this.
yeah. Well, I think I gotta add that Dota 2 peaked at an all-time high on Twitch during the finals. So Dota 2 on Twitch alone got 1 million viewers during
Whoa.
the finals. So that's only on Twitch. So imagine if you add off the restreams on YouTube, on Facebook, on Chinese portals. on in game. So it's gonna be a crazy number, and hopefully we see that number in a few days.
Oh, okay. Let's close it with this. Uh, TI-10. What are your expectations?
Stockholm, we're gonna see Bulldog. That's gonna be good. So
Yeah.
Bulldog and Slacks going wacky over memes. That's
Okay.
gonna be something to watch. And I have a question for you. Do
Go.
you think OG has a possibility of three-peating?
It's just so hard to say right now. It's just so hard to say. Right now, if they keep up their form, it's possible. But you got the rest
Yeah.
of the world gonna try to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, teams are gonna get better. China wants their revenge, so they haven't been in the finals this year, so they definitely want their revenge. Poppy wants his revenge. I'm
Yeah.
sure Kuro is going through an anime phase right now, like wanting to. He was this close to tasting the trophy again, so he's probably going through an anime phase, trying to recharge his energy,
That's true.
finding his resolve. So
Hopefully-
it's gonna be a very exciting year.
Hopefully, this top four teams stay intact. I understand those below the top four if they want to change it up. I understand that because you get if you below top four isn't a very good showing. Well, you still get a lot of money, but
Yeah.
but you know what? Something I really appreciated for this TI because you normally get. Of course, you're gonna see people in pain or really sad that they didn't get to win, they get eliminated. But the grand finals was just a very wholesome showing of sportsmanship between two teams, despite everything, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, did they interview the losers in the finals? I don't think I saw the losers interview.
I don't think so,
So,
and I don't think you'd want to do
yeah.
that because what hurts
Yeah.
hurts more than last place is second place.
That's true. We've seen all of these broken down teams throughout the main stage. They were interviewing them.
Yeah,
It's just a very hard sight to see. But at the same time, we just empathize with them. So it makes for good TV or good streaming. I don't know what to say. Good TV, but it's also very heartbreaking. So it was good to see the human element as well. So I'm torn on whether or not I wanted to see what how they were feeling after the defeat.
no, dude, like you put yourself in that booth, and then imagine telling your team that we're done. We're not making that $1 million. That's not something I want to say to anyone. So,
Yeah.
all right. Anyway, so TI-10 has a lot. That has a lot to look up to. That's a really tall order to
Yeah.
top that. But this time you
Yeah.
got Europe, and I guess we could all say we're looking forward to the next TI, no doubt.
Yep, the potential is there. I mean, it's just crazy how you think that this TI cannot be topped anymore, but then here comes TI9. So I'm really looking forward to next year. So onwards to the 10th year of watching TI, watching all of these players, watching all of these stories unfold, and of course, watching Great Dota.
Yeah, trying to research how to get a visa to Stockholm.
I'm with you there.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Franz. It was a very fun chat, even though our audience doesn't normally hear us gush about Dota all that much. You want to join me later?
Well, I don't think my Dota is updated, unfortunately.
All right.
Let's see.
All right. Well, maybe
So,
sometime.
All right. Well,
Okay.
it's been great talking about something we're so passionate about. So it's been great to relive the memories of previous CI. So yeah, hopefully we get to do more of this.
Yeah. Well, maybe we're gonna do September's gonna be a killer month for games, game releases. We're probably gonna do more of these. Maybe even anime. Anime this season is actually really hitting a lot of home runs. So there's a lot. There's a lot. It's
Yeah.
more about time. It's more about time. Anyway, you got for those of you listening, thank you for getting to this point. I hope you enjoyed our little chat over here about Dota, and we will be following up with more topics. Could be games, could be movies, could be anything under the sun. It just has to be something we all enjoy. Anyway, thank you for listening to this little podcast. This is the RF Talk. You can see our other content in reimarufiles.com. You can also follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. See you next time. Thank you so much for listening in.